GM, everybody. Happy Thursday. We have a special session for today. We are here with Alex, MyDoge CTO, and the Dogecoin community talking about their recent integration with Dogecoin Season 2, and everything that's happening on Doge. Very excited for this conversation, but first and foremost, going to make some rounds and say hello to everyone who is on stage. Adam, how are we feeling today?
Feeling great, man. I'm excited to talk to Alex. Alex, just so you know, I'm speaking through Jake's mic, but I am up on stage. Yeah, we had a bit of time to chat up in Austin, and it was great to meet up with a bunch of guys actually from the Dogecoin community, and just swap some stories and stuff, and talk a little bit with Alex. But it's great to have him here to actually be able to focus on him and focus on what he's building over there. So I'm pretty psyched about this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, for those that aren't aware or who don't regularly tune into our shows, Adam and I live stream. It's pinned to the top. So if you like to follow along, we do show or screen share some of the things on the internet about the things that we were discussing. Please give the space a retweet so that everyone can hear about what is happening in the Dogecoin community. If you guys want to have any questions for Alex or anybody who's on stage, please just hit the request button. Come up here. We usually hold a pretty open spaces. If you don't want to come up and you have a question, please just hit that little purple button in the bottom right-hand corner, post it there, and we will make sure that your question is heard, or hop on the live stream and you can also comment there as well. I want to say hello to my other co-hosts, and then we're going to get this conversation started. Chris, how are we feeling today?
Yo, a lot of dogs in here today. We have a ton of dogs here today. Only took 11 years, but we got to season 2 of Dogecoin.
Yeah,
so we're pumped on it. I feel like there's a ton of energy that just kind of like built up around the whole community. So I feel like it's kind of like a ticking time bomb that's ready to pop at any moment. And I think Alex and the team have a lot to do with building the future here. So I think this is an important episode, but I think we're going to cover a lot, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's dive into this, everybody. Alex, first, a pleasure to meet you. It's awesome to hear that you and Adam got to hang out for a little bit. Let's start it right from the top. I would love to hear kind of your background story of getting into crypto and then eventually leading to Dogecoin.
Yeah. What's up, Jake? Nice to meet you as well. Thank you guys for having me. My story is one of a lifelong software engineer. Been coding forever. I was in multiple tech spaces, including video games, AR, VR, analytics, ad tech, to name a few, and kind of had dabbled in Bitcoin as early as 2014 when I got a Coinbase account and got I think it was a free like 0.01 Bitcoins or something like that at that time. And I was like, oh, cool, $4 worth of Bitcoin, right? Something like that. It was like $40 or something like that. And it went up to 400, and I was like, woohoo! And I fucking sold it. A lot of people, in software engineering back then were just like naysayers and haters and stuff. So I definitely got caught up in that camp. But fast forward to 2017, and I had some friends that became, astronomically wealthy off of Ethereum, and I couldn't really deny it anymore what was going on. So I started to learn Solidity. That was kind of my intro into blockchain development. And by 2018, I quit my job and was full-time freelance crypto dev. So, since 2018, I've been doing this full-time. Like as mentioned, I started working on Ethereum. I started working on Solana early on. That was around 2021, 2022-ish. And then, by late 2021, I got approached by our other co-founder, West Coast Bill, with this idea for the Dogecoin wallet. Now, I had dabbled in Doge as well, mostly using it for like gambling sites as a fast way to transfer coins, noticing that it worked a lot better than Bitcoin or even Litecoin or whatever, just to transfer fast and cheap. I had like millions and millions of Dogecoin at one point. Yes, I sold them all as well. So I didn't become a Dogecoin millionaire. But yeah, when the idea was presented to build on Dogecoin, the idea was that there wasn't a lot of devs building on Dogecoin, and that there was a huge opportunity, given the strength of the community and, no doubt Elon's interest definitely got me excited in terms of everything that was going on, and following SNL and watching the market, the last bull run go up and everything. It was kind of awe-inspiring. So I said, why not? And at first I was kind of like, all right, well, we could build a wallet and we could integrate multiple coins and whatever. And really it was like, no, like only Doge. And then I really got Doge pilled and, became part of the community, started making memes, and, we introduced the ability to post memes on our app, and really just got embraced by the community and made a bunch of friends. And yeah, now I'm been a Dogecoin maxi, so to speak, for a few years now. That's all I'm building on. I'm not, I quit building on other platforms. So that's
how do you view it from a perspective of crypto currently? It's especially in like the meme coin space, like getting on Binance is considered like top of the mountain, right? And we've joked on the show that like, oh, central exchanges are basically like the L2s of Bitcoin and the L2s of a lot of these chains, even obviously Dogecoin as well. How do you look at that, with you guys being like, a native, wallet for people to self-custody it? How do you look at that from like a marketing type perspective? Like, are you trying to pull people off exchanges? That's your marketing angle, or your angle is like, no, you're just trying to get crypto natives to use the wallet itself. How do you view that?
Yeah, so getting your Doge off an exchange is definitely a wise decision. It's part of our mission. Our mission, is to just provide utility for Dogecoin. And we were very focused on like increasing the amount of daily transactions, but meaningful transactions for commerce and tipping and other things between peer-to-peer electronic currency, right? And so a lot of people don't even realize that like Dogecoin has its own layer one. Like they think it's just a token like any other.
Most people don't know that. I guarantee you probably 90% of holders of Dogecoin have zero clue about it. It's crazy out there. Yeah.
Right. And so, it's very special in that regard. It's probably the number 2 proof of work blockchain next to Bitcoin at this point. And it's definitely the number 2 like recognized cryptocurrency amongst people that don't know anything about crypto. They can tell you, oh, I know Bitcoin, and oh yeah, I've heard of Dogecoin. But yeah, like people are usually come in through the exchange. That's fine. But we suggest that you take custody of that and use it. The number 2 question that I get after seed phrase related things is, how do I sell Dogecoin, right? And I always tell people, well, you can use it. You can use it in our shop to buy merch. You can buy gift cards. You can use it to buy things from, other merchants and vendors that are selling things in Dogecoin. You can tip it to your friend that made a, post on X, using our MyDoge tip bot. But, if you have to sell it, that's okay too. I'm not going to act like that doesn't happen. But yeah, you need to use an exchange. You can't sell directly through the MyDoge wallet. And that's on purpose.
Yeah, I had your website pulled up here for a second, and it says that you guys are the social wallet for the people's currency. What exactly does that mean as a social wallet? And then I'd love to also just hear kind of some of the obstacles that maybe you faced while building this, because to my knowledge, there were not many Dogecoin wallets up until Doginals popped up, and even now, it's still quite limited space. And I know there were many, many technical hurdles for building on Doge. So I'd just love to hear that origin story.
Yeah, so the social wallet for the people's currency, the idea was that we wanted to create a secure, self-custody solution, but we also wanted to make it fun. And we have the ability for you to create your own social profile on the wallet. And so you can send Doge to somebody just like through their username. You don't need to know their address. And similarly, you can post your own photos, videos, GIFs, to our social feed in the app, which we call the Dogeverse. And that's kind of a fun experience. If someone likes your meme, they can just tip you Doge immediately. We wanted to make that experience like as easy and as fun as possible to keep the Doge flowing. Yeah, and in terms of technical challenges, we did everything from building out our own like node infrastructure and being able to host like nodes easily in the cloud. We ended up using like a third-party service provider just because like scaling out that infrastructure was expensive and cumbersome. A few other challenges, the challenges were around like Apple's guidelines and restrictions. So like, for instance, they have a digital content policy where you can't like accumulate tips on a meme, for instance, because they consider that you paying somebody for their digital content, and they force all of that to go through their in-app purchase system. So what we had to do for that feature is basically we had to nerf it and like change the tip buttons a little bit. Like the tip buttons used to show like how much how many tips had accrued for like a certain post, and people loved it. Like gamified the experience of the Dogeverse, but Apple was threatening to cut us from the App Store if we didn't change that. So thankfully, the change was minor. We just took the numbers away and changed some text where it said tip to like send and like silly stuff like that. But that was enough to get past Apple's restrictions. And then the other really challenging part was on the X API side with the MyDoge tip integration. So you can use the MyDoge tip bot to send people Doge on X. What it does is it basically triggers a transaction in your wallet. Once the bot detects the tweet, it makes an entry in the server and it sends a notification to your phone to confirm the transaction, and that really works well. But then X, basically slashed their API access and made the full access very expensive. And so that kind of limited the amount of replies we could do and stuff like that. And I added like a ChatGPT feature to the bot where it, makes silly responses. And we used to have features like tip trains where you could just add on to somebody's tip and keep the train going, and it would post a little train emoji, and it was pretty awesome. But yeah, now with the API limitations, until we grow the company substantially larger, we won't be able to bring those features back because the API costs something like $5,000 a month, or
Yeah, I heard it was like 40 grand a month for like real use. It's crazy. And a bit sad that's been kind of cut out. But I mean, that's kind of always the thing with, building on something like X or whatever. It's like you can get rugged at any time. Is it a concern? I mean, that would be my main concern would be, hey, Apple, changes their, policies. I don't know. Maybe it's in regards to, NFTs or crypto or whatever. I mean, how concerned are you about Apple currently, changing their terms of service where you guys get rugged off the App Store?
Yeah, that's not really a concern. I mean, self-custodial wallets, there's a bunch of them, and that's kind of like solidified. You did mention NFTs. That does fall into that digital content category. So maybe this is a good segue into what we're doing with Dogenals. But we're implementing Dogenal support in our browser wallet. So we built a browser extension for Chrome as part of like the Dogecoin Foundation hackathon in Australia back in November 2022. And it was kind of just like a fully open source like side project to create a MetaMask clone essentially for Dogecoin, and we called it MyDoge Mask, which was my little clever addition. But yeah, we've completely refactored it. We've redesigned it to match the current wallet branding and UI, and we've added full support for Dogenals and DRC20. Short of minting, but we might add that at some future point. But it's completely free and it's completely open source. We don't charge any extra fees. The point being that we can do a lot more in the browser than what we can currently do on mobile because of Apple's policy restrictions. But no, we're not concerned that we're going to get cut. We're just we have to work around their guidelines.
So one question before we dive a little bit more into Dogenals. When you built out, or when you decided to build a Dogecoin wallet, what was the decision behind starting with mobile over building a desktop wallet or a browser extension? Because those are pretty popular. I personally have been in the Dogecoin space since 2017. That was when I first purchased Doge, and for a while, a lot of the desktop, or a lot of the wallets were desktop. What was the decision behind going to mobile and also facing, some of these limitations that Apple had been enforcing for quite some time?
Yeah, so there was no mobile wallet. Well, there was the Langerhans wallet on Android, which a lot of people were complaining like didn't work. And the way it worked was like it was basically like a light node or whatever. It had to like sync with the blockchain, and it was cumbersome for people to use. And so yeah, we wanted to be number one on the App Store, and we got there pretty quickly, just given that there wasn't a lot of competition there. But now since then there has been a number of wallets that have also come out as Dogecoin wallets, and the idea was just to provide something specifically for Dogecoin that people could recognize, and yeah, focus on, well, yeah, we launched on Android first, just because there was less friction there, and Apple actually delayed us for a few months, going back and forth with their policy guidelines. It was unrelated to the digital content thing. It was, I forgot exactly what it was, but yeah, real pain in the ass, but worth it to be on the App Store with the native like Dogecoin experience.
Yeah, I believe now the number is something around like 80% of crypto users are using mobile wallets, which is wild to me because of a lot of security risk that comes with mobile wallets. I pulled up.
I'm gonna take this one question because like this is actually just popped in my mind. Is there kind of with Dogecoin, is it similar to Bitcoin where you don't have kind of like the click and you're drained problem on Dogecoin? Because I have no idea. Or is it more similar to Ethereum where you can like, one wrong click and your wallet's kind of drained on your phone?
Yeah, no, there's no smart contract, on Dogecoin, right? So you don't have to be as concerned that you're interacting with like a malicious address or something like that.
Oh, great.
And just to the previous point, I argue that mobile is actually more secure in terms of keeping your seed phrase and private keys encrypted and stored in the device keychain. You way more likely to be able to hack like a browser wallet than a mobile wallet. Just my opinion, but there are other security concerns just around like losing your phone and stuff like that. Like that happens, but we implemented the ability to lock with a passcode, and simple stuff like that, using Face ID obviously on iOS, and fingerprint and other biometric off on Android. And so yeah, mobile's the way to go, and we want to do more with mobile, up short of pissing off Apple.
So back in January or around sometime earlier this year and late last year, you put a post up from your account and says, how does the Dogecoin community feel about adding Doginal /DRC20 support to MyDoge official? This poll had 3,100 votes and 48%, almost 49, said no. And if you go into, there's 226 comments on this. And if you go into the thread, it looks like your user base at that time was overwhelmingly not in favor of Doginals because they considered it spam, which was almost the very, very similar argument to the early Bitcoin ordinal days where the maxis were coming out. And it really felt like deja vu, because when you read through some of the posts and the comments and some of the discussion around that time, a lot of people saw Dogecoin as money, right? And they didn't want the mempool to be congested and clog up the chain, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Take us through this moment of decision making, now 6 months later, to officially add Doginals, and what type of communication did you have to have with your community to finally build and integrate Doginals?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do spend a lot of time in spaces, a lot of late night, just fun spaces with the community, hanging out, not even talking as MyDoge CTO, just hanging out and shooting the shit, so to speak. And so, yeah, I'd heard a lot of this like negative sentiment stuff. We were obviously impacted when, the daily transactions of Dogecoin reached above like 2 million and started to make headlines. And, we're really looking at like, what are the technical concerns here? Because already, we're aware of like the utility of like NFTs, for instance. And it was something that was interesting. And I was following, ordinals from the beginning as well. Even Udi Wertheimer like follows me back. So he's also like following what's going on in the Doge community and stuff like that. So yeah, so I think the community's like actually pretty much in favor of it. Like I think the people that aren't in favor of it are like a vocal minority. And I guess the survey was, pretty much 50-50. So that was interesting to me. But yeah, like the main thing was like, can we address like people's concerns? And what happened around that time was that Patrick Lauder, the Dogecoin core dev, made an effort to fix what's called the estimate smart fees JSON RPC endpoint. So that is the function on the node which helps you better estimate what amount of fee you need to get the transaction confirmed, right? So even during what people would call network spam, a lot of people, let's say inscribing and minting, we can adjust the fees, accordingly. And even in, the largest height of transaction volume, fees are only like 3 cents, went from like a fraction of a penny to like, let's say 3 cents or something. So it's still a fraction of a Doge. So that concern is, clogging the mempool and all that sort of thing is alleviated by just, bidding your fee correctly. And yeah, I think, the other concern is kind of like the size of the chain growing. And again, these are the same concerns people brought up with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already a pretty large chain, but Dogecoin was actually relatively small. But I think we went from around like 60 gigabytes, now to like 100 something. Then I'll have to verify that exactly. But yeah, it's still relatively small. If you have a 256 gig hard drive nowadays, like that's pretty small. Like most people have at least a terabyte of storage, and it'll be a long time before, it gets that big. But if it does, it means that this is all like wildly successful and people want to use it. So yeah, addressing those two things and then talking about it more, I think a lot of people got like a Doginals wallet. And, another thing in the Dogecoin community is everything is relatively cheap and people are giving these things away. And it's all based on community, like in general. And, for us, the story, had to be that, we're not going to abandon our initial mission of providing utility for Dogecoin. So that includes payments, that includes tipping, but it can include Doginals as well. And it does. And so, I've also been outspoken about the technicalities of meta protocols. And, I'm not the biggest fan of them just because of the reliance on centralized infrastructure and indexers that are slow and APIs that are slow. And, without those kind of things, the UX suffers. But we're also working to address those issues. And we're working with other people that are building in this space now, that are focused on addressing those issues. So, for me, it was ultimately about like user experience. If the user experience is positive, then that's going to attract more people to Dogecoin, and that's a positive thing.
Yeah. Excuse me. It's always the, vocal minority are the ones that are the loudest and generally kind of the ideological bunch. Same with Bitcoin. Honestly, there's a lot of the same on Litecoin as well and Dogecoin.
Okay.
I'm sure there will be some on Bell's Coin, Adam, in the future.
Bell's Coin is money. I thought that was the best part of like this past cycle where people were like, Dogecoin is money, which I know it is, but that it wasn't that they were unwilling to have, the chain have kind of other use cases is just, it's hilarious, right? That it's basically started as a meme, started as a joke. And these guys are so caught up with their own bag bias that they, just want it to be this one thing. And it was so hilarious to see them basically acting like the hardest of hardcore Bitcoin maxis, right? And that was kind of funny to see. But it's nice that it's kind of, I think that's generally been settled and people are, ready to move on, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of builders who've come, right? We have DoggyFi on stage who's building a DEX, right? You have the Dog Father or the Doge Father that has their own token. There's a few different projects. 8bit's been a builder doing things, and Jimmy has great content and is an ambassador for the Leica L2, right? So there's a lot of things that we're seeing right now that are happening on Bitcoin ordinals. People are coming and try to apply it to Dogenals. And of course, there's some technical hurdles. Alex, I'd love to get your insight into kind of the wallet space of Dogecoin and more specifically Dogenals. The community's, been a little frustrated at the lack of, I guess, efficient wallets per se. I know there's a lot of hurdles when it comes to Dogenals with like consistent block reorgs. What are some features that you believe MyDoge wallet or MyDoge can support, or what are some Dogenal features that MyDoge wallet can support that maybe some of these other wallets are lacking, or at least just kind of talk about maybe some of the future products to come?
Yeah, no, right on. The number one thing being that inscription transactions take a certain amount of time to be indexed, and so that's necessary for because you can't read the chain history basically in real time. It's just too expensive. Like the indexer just basically stores like the current state of that inscription, who owns it from its genesis inscription, that sort of thing, right? And so what we really wanted to do is just improve. So like, for instance, we have like better messaging around, like let's take DRC20 for example, right? Like that process is very confusing because it requires multiple transactions to actually like send, for instance. And using other wallets, like none of that even made sense to me. Like I had to like really like read technical documentation and figure out stuff that like the average person is never going to figure out, right? Like it's already challenging enough for people to like back up a seed phrase, which we have a huge warning, like, and then you have a process for that, and it's like, are you sure you want to skip this? Like you need to do this. And sure enough, people skip it. And yeah, so learning from those kind of UX challenges, it was, how can we improve this? So first and foremost, with just like UI messaging, in the ability to view the details of your inscriptions like through transaction history, after you make an inscription transfer, Dogenals or DRC20, an indicator that shows that that's still pending, that it hasn't been indexed yet, the ability to check, quickly if it's been indexed, warnings that, there can be problems. Now, the wallet also is very smart about the way that it sends Dogecoin. So, for instance, you can send regular Doge payments and it won't like spend your inscriptions. But it'll also warn you if you have pending like inscription transfer that that won't be identified as an inscription until it's eventually indexed. Yeah, and then ultimately on the indexer side, trying to get that to go faster. But we're able to do some things within the wallet that, for instance, like cache recent transactions, so we can update balances faster, and things like that.
Oh, he just rugged.
No, I think he.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that
We
was
got
the
a
end.
call coming in.
All good, bro. So here then we'll continue on with some of the kind of wallet discussion. What are your thoughts on like the indexing issue? So for example, here maybe this is just more of like a broader Dogecoin ecosystem. Back in February, OKX was very loud about their integration of DRC20. Ultimately, they made an announcement that they were working with Doge Labs, and now we're 4 months later, and this still hasn't happened. And there's been some rumblings in the community that the issue comes with straight just with an indexing issue, and I believe there's a few teams trying to work on it. Could you provide some insight on like what makes indexing Dogecoin and Dogecoin so difficult, and then how does MyDoge go about ensuring that these like block reorgs and some of the back end technology kind of stays up to date and we don't run into these issues in the future?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge right now. I mean, to put it as simply as possible, it is possible for blocks to reorg. So a single confirmation sometimes is not enough to guarantee that the chain isn't going to change. So you run a few blocks behind of the current head block, and you're just reading the transactions in each block and indexing those as they're mapped to inscription operations, right? And so there's some clever things that can be done to run closer to single confirmation, but it requires this like edge case handling logic. So the ability to modify things in the index when you detect that it goes wrong. And yeah, we're working with other people that are building this kind of stuff right now, so we can include support in our wallet. Again, the mobile, I'm sorry, the browser wallet will be where we launch this, hopefully in the next few days.
And there we go. Some alpha. How do builders on Dogecoin get in touch with you, with an integration, or maybe they need something, a little more specific if they're building a DeFi project and they want to integrate it into, the MyDoge wallet or any of these like specific use cases? Because there are some builders on stage and maybe in the crowd. What is the best way to get in contract for a partnership with MyDoge?
Yeah, so for integrations, first of all, we are building out a full featured API, very similar to MetaMask, where people can integrate our browser wallet into any website, trigger transactions, trigger Dogecoin transactions, trigger DRC20 transactions, partially signed Bitcoin transactions, signed messages, that sort of thing. And GitHub is probably the best way to check out the code. It's all open source. GitHub.com/MyDoge-com is our main GitHub, and you can see the MyDoge Mask project there. There's an integration example repo which currently has the docs. Big part of what I'm working on is improving the documentation. So that's the best place for devs to start. And they can create issues on GitHub if there are any like specific questions. And then of course, if it's just a simple like integration question, they can DM me directly.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited about, the Dogecoin future. There's a lot of ongoing narratives right now that seems like it kind of all points to Dogecoin, but again, the infrastructure is kind of lagged, right? The industry is going through a very chaotic meme coin season, which who knows when that ends, right? We have,
I thought it ended yesterday. No.
and the second leading narrative, or maybe even the one that's more than that, right, is ordinals and inscriptions that are going across all these different chains. There's 5 or 6 different chains that are offering, inscriptions. You have this celebrity kind of narrative that's going on, and of course, Elon is, the biggest megaphone on this platform, who's also, the biggest advocate for Dogecoin. What are your thoughts about the future of Dogecoin? Do you think that it can capture some of the DeFi user base across these chains? Do you think that Doge will maybe be a little bit more suitable for NFTs or gaming? I would love to get a little bit of your perspective and foresight into where you think this is all really headed for Dogecoin.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? Like we're gonna keep building, and we're looking at everything else going on in the blockchain space. So like, we don't want to have blinders on and just, um, force users to have any like individual use case, right? So like, we're not going to force people to just use payments. We're not going to force them. We want to allow for all of the use cases that are in the crypto space right now. So that, that includes things like layer 2s and everything else that's going on in other ecosystems, modular blockchain development. No limit to what we want to do with Dogecoin. And, I think, that's going to keep us kind of in the top 10 cryptos. And there's no reason why we can't be, number 3, just to keep it real. But yeah, Dogecoin could easily be like in the top 5, like market cap, given all the advancements and what I see happening.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. First, if there's anyone on stage who has a question, make sure you raise your hand because we are getting a few requests. So just want to make sure. If not, I'm going to shuffle some people in. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. It is interesting in this like meme coin race because you have them now. You have a leading one on all these different chains. You have Dog on Bitcoin. You have Pepe and Sheeb on ETH. You have Dog with Hat on Solana. And they all want to overtake Doge. But the only difference here is that Doge is its own self-sustaining blockchain, right? And there's utility that's being added to, this quote unquote meme coin. And can't tell if it's expanding outside of this meme coin classification or if it'll always just be like kind of this meme coin hub. And we were talking about this on yesterday's show is at what point does a meme coin not become a meme coin and it becomes, something of utility? What do you think about that with Dogecoin and all these competitors coming in? Do you think it'll always be considered the top, quote unquote meme coin, or do you think it evolves and into something a little bit more similar to, Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana, where people begin to consider it more as, a high throughput blockchain that can satisfy, XYZ ecosystems, DeFi, NFTs, etc. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we're already there. We've already transcended meme coin status. I mentioned earlier, like probably the number 2 recognized cryptocurrency in the world next to Bitcoin.
Yep.
And then once people understand that it's basically Bitcoin with a dog on it that transacts faster and cheaper, and once people actually use it, they say, oh, because if you try to use Bitcoin, you're going to have a bad time. And it's just still the case, even with, layer twos and everything else that they're doing. So, yeah, like we're already there. Other tokens are going to, achieve meme status and they're going to pump or whatever, but it's on them to catch up, to this cultural phenomenon, which is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to replicate. Something that started purely as a joke. There is no centralized control of the supply. Miners secure the network and get block rewards, and that kind of fixed issuance has now proven, in my opinion, to be better than even Bitcoin's like let's say manufactured scarcity. And it just turns out that this kind of the tokenomics of it, if you will, is more conducive to Dogecoin changing hands. And so, yeah, we're already there. We've got merchants, accepting Doge payments for pizza at Williamsburg Pizza. They're doing big things now, big promotions, and other people are starting to follow suit. Tesla has already accepted Dogecoin for merchandise, and there's rumors that you can even buy a Tesla with Dogecoin sometime in the future. Right. And then, yeah, whatever Elon's got cooking with X payments, we don't know yet, but there's a huge possibility, in my opinion, that Dogecoin is going to be part of this platform in a more major way. And then once that happens, yeah, now we're talking like top 3 market cap cryptos, that just, are way beyond what other meme coin projects are trying to achieve.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. I've been discussing this probably for over a year now, that the real bull market doesn't start until Doge can be purchased on X, with US dollars. And ultimately, a lot of these, again, kind of going back to the meme coin race, a lot of people think that that retail, quote unquote retail, when they return, is going to buy, Dog with Fat and all of these other ones. But I'm under the opinion, and they're probably just going to buy Doge again because Elon is, he's the biggest megaphone. It's really hard to fade. And I think then at that point, it's up to us, everyone on stage and in the crowd, to start funneling them to the communities within Doge, the sub communities, right? The on-chain hustlers, the Lakas, right? The DoggyFis, the XYZ kind of communities, to really kind of support the ecosystem. But I'd love to pass it over to on-chain hustlers. Looks like you guys have a question. Thanks for remaining patient.
No problem. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Adam, for actually hosting this show and bringing up the CTO. How you doing, Alex? Nice finally meet you on stage, and shout out to all the legends on stage. Just wanted to put into what Alex said with the X payments. X payments is a big catalyst for us over here in Doge. If you've seen the amount of wave that Tan has done with Telegram, I mean that's really big. And if we have X payments and with Doge in there, that's just gonna bring a it's just gonna make it's easy. Like Doge is going to be top 3 in no time. And even with the Alex, the integration with MyDoge wallet, that's one of the biggest wallets, Doge wallets there is. Once that's allowed to start trading Doge nodes and stuff, a bunch of people have a lot of wallets there, Doge there, that they could spend on Doge nodes and stuff. So now we actually have a way to spend our Doge. And Alex said he doesn't want them to sell it, so they're gonna just spend it on Doge node projects and DRC20 projects, which is great. They keep it in the ecosystem, right? And there's a question I have for Alex, because I've heard a few different points of it, and I just wanted to clarify for everyone in here and for me. Is MyDoge wallet and the browser extension, are you guys making an extension of yours, or is this going to be connected to MetaMask?
No, this is a standalone wallet. It's a project that we actually launched months ago, just with basic, regular Dogecoin payments. So it's been out for a while. You can check it on the Chrome store. Look for MyDoge Mask. We are gonna rebrand it just to be like MyDoge browser. and all those updates are coming soon, along with Dogecoins. And yeah, if you check out the GitHub, you can see there's a pull request with all that stuff like ready to merge any day now. We're just polishing it and testing it, and I'm completing the API interfaces. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, we've seen you in the Node Runners chat, so we know you're trying to help us out a lot. But yeah, thanks again for coming up and talking about your the wallet.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to some of the hands that have just popped up. We're gonna go to Dogs. Also, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us on stage.
GM guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Hi, Alex. Recently just started following you. Fairly new to the Doge ecosystem, only in the last year. But yeah, my question was just: are you guys gonna add in your first iteration Dunes as well as DRC20? I know that you said that you keep up with the Bitcoin scene. And yeah, Runes has been like the latest buzz for fungible token standards. And I just want your thoughts on how you see the landscape with Dunes within Doge and going forward versus DRC20.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of it. We are launching initially with only Dogecoins and DRC20, but we are looking to add Dune support as soon as possible. And there may be other meta protocols, that come along that are interesting as well. So we want to support anybody, in the community that's building, especially meta protocols that can improve like UX.
Awesome, man. I appreciate all the work that you're doing. We're a tight-knit community out here that's grinding every day and trying to do good only. So appreciate you.
Awesome. Likewise.
Yeah, we've seen a handful of attempts at different meta protocols on Dogecoin so far. I saw somebody attempt to do pipe on Dogecoin. That was kind of the first meta protocol after DRC20. It was called Dipe. I saw some people try to do CBRC20. I expect once Track finally makes it over and they have their servers up, that we'll probably see a proliferation of a lot of new meta protocols, and eventually, hopefully, one that's native to Dogecoin. And what I mean by that is it's a new meta protocol that starts on Dogecoin and then proliferates to these other chains, right? Kind of how Bitcoin is leading. Hopefully, Dogecoin can really begin to be a trendsetter over the near future. That would be a very, very telling sign. And I think it can, because Dogecoin has some unique properties. But we'll pass it over to X1, X2. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Yeah, thanks for having this space to GM everybody. Yeah, thanks Alex also for being here. We also DM'd you one time about the Shosify, I have a question related to the DRC20 tokens and the Dogecoins, like into the mobile application. When do you think that would be possible?
Yeah, so we're gonna add it. Earlier in the space, I was mentioning the real restrictions are from Apple's guidelines. So have to be. You can't. There's certain things you can't do, right, related to digital content. So like marketplace is very difficult to do. And then anything that could be considered like you getting paid for digital content, Apple doesn't like that, and that's why you don't see like a lot of native NFT like experiences on Apple. They just don't exist. You have to use a DApp browser and go through the web and do kind of what MetaMask does, and it's doable, and we want to get there. I will say that after we launch the browser version, we are prioritizing mobile next. So we'll circle back, and there's a number of new features we're going to be adding on mobile, including the ability for you to at least view your Dogecoins.
So do you roll those features out like to view the Doginals and then see how Apple kind of reacts to it, or is there like, or you kind of know ahead of time?
No, there's a game plan. Like, yeah, we know what we need to do, right? And it's significant. So appreciate everybody's patience, but yeah, mobile experience will be the top priority. Next to integrations, I should say. So we want people to integrate the browser extension, in their Doginal marketplaces, stuff like that. And anybody can integrate it. Like I said, it's free and open source. So we'll definitely devote a lot of resources to helping people do that. But yeah, mobile wallet experience is the top priority, and we have a number of features. I can't say too much yet. We do have a big announcement that's pending, but beyond Doginals, DRC20, and other meta protocols, we've got big plans for the mobile wallet.
Here we go, another alpha drop. We do have DogeFi on stage. I would love to get your opinion on, just so everyone can hear as well, kind of what you guys are building, especially with building a swap, kind of a swap DeFi protocol on Dogecoin, as well as I guess you could say the obstacles, or maybe how DeFi works with integrating, Dogecoin or Doginal focused wallets. So I'd love to just hear a little bit on that, if you're there.
Hey guys, sorry about that. Dude, firstly, go fucking as usual. Jake, Adam, Alex, good hearing your voice again. Jordan, good to see you out there too, buddy. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build this AMM literally on Dogecoin L1. So it's going on. We went to the mainnet. We had a chance to kick back with Alex and Jordan, shoot some pool, and drink probably way too many beers during consensus, which is a good fucking thing. But like, it was really cool to just, master plan everything that all is on the horizon of like cool shit that can get built out. And we're so fucking excited about that. Yeah, I think mobile, I think that I've said this privately, we encourage like different kind of interpretations of everything. So like, we know there's other marketplaces on there, and that's great. We want the other marketplaces out there. That's awesome, because there should be different interpretations of everything that's there. We just put our interpretation of it out there, and it's you go swap, we're literally swapping the L1. We'll see the transaction IDs. You can go check it. And this thing is on the L1. Wall-wise, we're stoked. Like, to the gang.
DogeFi, sorry, I had to mute you. You're breaking up a little bit. If you could get into a little bit of a better connection
situation.
Yeah, some Wi-Fi. Just raise your hand if you do, and then we could come back to it. It was breaking up a little bit. But no, it is. I know it's extremely difficult to build on the L1. Over the last year, I had been on a core group building OmniSat, which is the similar thing DogeFi is doing on, but on Bitcoin, and it is extremely difficult with transfer inscriptions and kind of this L1 framework with indexers. And I know the indexer issue, as we discussed earlier, is a lot more difficult than on Dogecoin. So, or Dogecoin's a little bit more difficult than on Bitcoin. So I'd love to go to Penny Bags, who has their hand, and then we'll go back to DogeFi right after.
Hey, thanks. So I just had a couple of questions for Alex in regards to what's your opinion on some of the L2s that are being built out for Dogecoin? That's my first question. And second question is, what are your plans to support some of these L2s? Are there any plans in the future? Yeah, those are basically my questions. Thanks.
Yeah, so L2s are very interesting. And we're looking at everything that's being built, and considering the right way to really do it, that strengthens the L1 and works like in synergy with it. So I can't say specifically like what or who or anything like that. But yeah, this is definitely something we're very interested in.
So do you like I guess a more of a pointed question, do you see any type of integration to connect to some of these L2s being a possibility with the MyDoge wallet in the future, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much for answering my questions.
Fantastic. Chris, what are you thinking over there?
And Alex, great to hear from you. Totally crushing it. What do you think about just the broader kind of development ecosystem over there? How active is it? How many real kind of projects are you guys seeing come through? Where are they really coming from, or any kind of insights you have just kind of on general builder ecosystem over on Doge?
Yeah, it's growing. You know, meta protocols have really created a buzz, and people are running their own nodes. And there's a big node runners group where people are actively, you know, participating now, and they're checking out, you know, code and even on like Dogecoin Core. Like I think with the last release, like there was a record number of people, you know, that contributed. On all parts of that, not just even code, but you know, helping with translations and documentation and all that sort of thing. So yeah, we see it growing, but it is coming from the meta protocol space. From my perspective, and yeah, it's really exciting. I haven't seen this kind of activity, you know, since the massive bull run we had, you know, in terms of just interest. But now, yeah, there's a real dev interest here.
Epic. Is there anything that, like directionally, that you think is kind of missing from the builder side? If people were looking to get involved, if people were looking for applications or things to kind of toy on and build for, is there any kind of recommendations that you think are kind of crucial, but maybe people are missing the point on in the ecosystem?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody right now is using basically like the same indexer, for instance. So there's like a lot of improvements that need to be made in the infrastructure. So not just the indexer itself, but then, you know, APIs. The current API interfaces, you know, are kind of just things that have been copied directly from ordinals or from BRC20. Right. And we need to think of ways to improve those interfaces, make it faster, so that more wallets can build on this stuff.
Never can have too many APIs and indexers and infrastructure. I've learned. Adam and I and Chris have this conversation all the time at Emblem. There's always APIs to be built, no matter what.
Alex, before we jump to the other hands, tell me, just from the historical perspective, was there more interest in building on Dogecoin when Dogecoin's price was running, or was the kind of ordinals meta, did that attract more builders in your view?
Yeah, I mean, there's way more interest now. It's just been growing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite telling. Yeah. Adam and I were having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and we were saying the best way to get traction for an ecosystem is literally get assets into people's hands, get NFTs into people's hands, get fungible tokens going, is literally the best way. And then you let the degen start generating interest, which then creates a positive feedback loop, which gets the developers' interest, and then more people start speculating, and right, and then you're kind of trending to the top. So love that. And we'll go over to Dogs.
Yeah, Alex, I love what you say about building beyond what we see on Bitcoin that comes over here, because there's been a lot of the iterations that we see is just a copy paste. It's something that you guys have touched on as far as like the runes aspect. I would love to see like Chinese characters and
I'm sorry, I think I'm rugged. Hold on.
All right.
It might just be Dogs.
Oh yeah,
can you hear us?
Speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, Jake.
Cool. Yeah, Dogs.
Yeah,
If you
Dog, why don't you drop down and come back up? You must
let you back up. And then we'll go over to Paul. Paul, what's up?
Yo, what's up? Yeah, GM, everybody in the space. Yes. Yeah, okay, this is a very amazing space. I give all the accolades to every single one of the speakers that has been saying, contributing, asking questions. And to you, Alex, I just want to ask this question. It's a good one hearing from you again and having you being on the same space with you. And for the fact that Doge News is coming to MyDoge wallet, I think I'm so bullish on that particular part in the DRC20 ecosystem. And I just want to ask, is there any form of maybe requirement for qualification for most of the DRC20 tokens and most of the Doginos before they get to MyDoge wallet? When you bring Doginos into MyDoge wallet, I don't know, is it the same way with Doge market, like every tokens just have access, list, and do everything on that wallet, or there are going to be like maybe requirement, you have to get to this particular market cap, you have to do this and do that before those tokens will be found or listed on MyDoge wallet if Dogecoin starts rolling like on MyDoge wallet? This is just my question. I just want to ask this. Thank you.
Sure. No, thanks, Paul. Yeah, good question. We are not building a marketplace. The ability to interact with inscriptions, Doginals, and DRC20 means you can view any tokens and you can send any tokens through the wallet. And there's no restrictions. We won't censor anybody from using the wallet. But yeah, in terms of listing and selling, like that functionality won't be native to the wallet. That'll be provided by people who integrate the wallet.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Jakes. Thank you, Alex, for that. Thank you. That was just what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, and I should add to that there are no extra added fees for like transferring your tokens like you see with some of these other wallets out there.
Bullish. We're gonna go over to Dogs, who's back on stage, and we'll go over to Cam right after.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, man.
Cool. Yeah. One thing that really piqued my interest in Doginals is when the mempool spiked on Bitcoin, Adam. So that was like a big factor for my project, at least. I think that there was a lot of interest during that time. But just like going off of what you said on building on top of even better of what we've seen on Bitcoin, I love to hear you say that. There's been a lot of iterations and protocols that have come over here that have just been like copy paste. And as someone with a lot of technical expertise, it'd be cool to see you like lead the charge as far as like possibly adding Chinese characters or doing less characters for dunes. This is just one idea. I'm sure there's a lot of ideas within the community here, but yeah, that's all I got to say, really.
Right on. Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, in the Bitcoin space, it's interesting. You're seeing different meta protocols be adopted by different geographic areas of the world, where Asia is more of a fan of BRC20, and it looks like Latin America and the United States is a little bit more a fan of runes. I'd be interested to see if the same kind of scenario happens on Dogecoin. So it's definitely something to look out for to get those extra languages over time. So that is a pretty good question. We'll go back, and then now we're going to go over to Cam, and then we'll pop back up to Chris.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on stage. Nice to meet you, Alex. Just had a quick question, just about like how the MyDoge wallet is going to allow you to like manage and sell your digital art and possibly like trade or take bids. Like if you guys are going to implement any features like that, similar to like Ordinal wallet or Doggy Market.
Yeah, Alex,
I couldn't hear Cam speak at all.
Okay, so
well, like, so you'll be able to store digital assets. You'll be able to store inscriptions, right?
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Yeah, he can't hear you, Cam. I'll relay the question. So he's asking again. I think you've already covered it to a degree, Alex, but the ability to list or sell digital assets, as far as I understand, you're going to be able to do that from the web browser, but not from the mobile device, correct?
Yeah, right. You know, like, I'm not going to say definitively, like there are ways to do it through mobile, but you know, similar to like the way MetaMask has like a dApp browser, you know, that's kind of been the current like industry workaround for Apple's restrictive policies.
Cool. Could you see anything in the future of seeing like a DRC20 swap module or any type of DeFi implementations directly into the web extension? Something similar to you see on like MetaMask, where you could swap within the web extension wallet. Do you see that coming to MyDoge?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. You know, I mentioned like right now we want to ship, you know, the Dogecoin's DRC20 experience. We want to make sure that UX is better than any existing wallet right now. We've got integrations, which we'll be speaking more on soon. We'll have announcements about, you know, partnerships and integrations ASAP once it's ready to ship. And it's quite possible, you know, those types of features will come later. I did mention, you know, we are shifting some of our resources. You know, being a really small team, we kind of have to be like laser focused, like what we're working on. So while we'll be supporting integrations, we're going to be, you know, focusing on the mobile experience next. And so you can expect a bunch more features coming to mobile immediately after the browser wallet ships.
Fantastic. We're going up to Chris, then back to Dogs.
Yeah. So, I mean, Doge really hit critical mass as kind of, you know, a meme chain and everything like that, but it's really continued to evolve into something just kind of so much bigger and, you know, has so much kind of dormant capital, so much kind of, you know, passive users throughout the entire industry. What do we think about, like, what do you think the strongest narrative is going forward, and kind of how does the community kind of really like hold on to a strong up and coming narrative, you know, in terms of, one of our favorites is just it being, you know, the second largest proof of work chain. I think that there's a ton of merit in that, and just kind of building, you know, frictionless kind of high throughput applications that they can't really be built on Bitcoin. But I feel like there's kind of that missing narrative push. What are your thoughts regarding kind of just general broad-based narrative?
Yeah, I mean, definitely being like the most recognizable next to Bitcoin and being number 2 proof of work are huge. You know, I'm really bullish on games and gaming, and what we can do in that regard. So, you know, I was a video game dev for a number of years. That's how I started my career. So I've always been interested in games and what can be done. And yeah, I think that's in line with kind of like the fun and community spirit and memes, and just staying true to you know, the brand, if you will, just silly, lighthearted fun that ironically works better than all of the other tech out there.
Yep, always the case. We're going to go over to Dogs and then Penny.
Yeah, last question here. I'm just curious, have you inscribed anything yourself or deployed any tokens yourself? And what do you see as some like cool use cases for using like recursion or code within inscriptions?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely inscribed things myself. I haven't launched any, you know, tokens or whatever, just like, you know, test stuff that I've done. Yeah, and I'm sorry, so yeah, we support recursions. It's kind of an interesting workaround. You know, it's cool what you can do with it. But you know, there's also value to just having like the raw data kind of inscribed in your token, and I don't know. But yeah, we do support recursions.
Do you guys have any plans to do like a collection for MyDoge wallet, or possibly do a token to like raise some money so you can maybe get into the Twitter API or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, no plans for that at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate you.
We're gonna head over to Penny.
Hey, so I just had one more question in regards to one of the requirements for opening up a MyDoge wallet, that being having a verified phone number. I just wanted to get some more context or history in regards to what was the decision around kind of surrounding this as a requirement. Do you see this as a negative in terms of users potentially adopting the wallet, or do you see any data in the back end that suggests that there's a drop-off rate in signups once a user's met that stage?
Well, to be clear, there is no requirement. You can use the wallet without signing in with the phone number.
Okay, my bad. I think okay, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, no, it's not required at all. You can skip that step. You can be fully anonymous and just use the wallet for purchases and tipping and everything else. But if you do want to create a social profile, there has to be a way to log in, and phone number just tends to be the easiest. And yeah, we make it very clear that we don't use your phone number for any marketing purposes or share it with any third parties. But yeah, it's the easiest kind of secure way. And in terms of the data indicates that globally, way more people have a valid mobile phone number than even an email. And then with like email login, it's really easy to create like a bunch of spam accounts. So we wanted to address that issue as well. Just have a way. So like, for instance, we don't allow voice over IP numbers. Like if you want to sign up with that, just to eliminate the bots. And there's a lot of bots. Let me just say that. They still get through and stuff like that. So, we have to moderate and just be very careful, like in the social aspect of things. Because as you can imagine, the amount of bad actors in the crypto space, unfortunately, is still very high. And yeah, phone number login is something that helps mitigate that.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Yeah. Thanks for asking that. Thanks for answering that question.
Awesome. If there's any other questions, I think we'll take maybe one or two more so that we could be cognizant of Alex's time and wrap this up. It's been a really good space. So if anyone has any other questions, we'll go with DogeFi just so they can get another rebuttal. Hopefully a little bit better connection this time. You there?
Hey, what's up, guys? My bad. Sorry, just my headphones like died and my connection's been all fucking wonky. But yeah, no, I just was saying that like I think it's dope that there's other marketplaces. I think that also it's really dope that MyDoge has come up with the Dogecoin support. I'm really stoked about their ability to go mobile, and I think that this is clearly leaning towards a trend where like all these assets need to be more mobile based anyways. So if you're building like an environment where you're like, bro, these assets can be like literally on your phone and you can transact on it like just like that. You don't have to ever really get to any kind of desktop kind of interface. That makes 100% sense. Also, yeah, I know that you guys mentioned the indexer problem. We had a great chat with Bunzi actually during Consensus as well. Had a chance to like kick it with him and actually do a small little event, which was kind of dope. But yeah, I mean, like we kind of faced the similar issues that like OmniSats did, right? Like the infrastructure kind of requirements to like really build an AMM on this that like takes you away from an auction buy sell style marketplace is a fucking pain in the ass. And us being ex-ETH guys, like is like we were like, why the fuck hasn't anyone actually have any proper info on this? Why isn't there any proper tooling? Why isn't there any proper documentation? And it's really funny. I was in a conversation with someone from the Dogecoin community yesterday And they were like, yes, 100%. When you look at some of the repos, people purposefully fuck up the repos so you can't replicate some of their shit, like, which is kind of hilarious, even though it's open source is what they're putting. You might as well just be like, yo, like, it's not open source. That's perfectly fine too. Like, no one's going to call you a dickbag for that. But that being said, yeah, infra is, I think, one of those things that, like, we have, you know, we've talked to, like, Bunzi, we talked to the Metastrio about these guys. We talked to another company, actually, that's also in Austin, and we also started building our own core competency inside itself to ensure that we don't have to have any external dependencies in terms of, like, something going down. It's one of the reasons why, like, our swap kind of, like, works the way it does right now, right? Like, if you guys haven't had a chance to test it, I'd encourage you to, like, go test it out. Send us your DRC20 address. Go do that. And, you know, like, I mean, Alex and Jordan, like, are fucking stand-up guys. They're like mentions. They're good fucking fellas. We had a chance to, like, hang out with them in Dubai, hang out with them in Austin, and their ability to, like, deliver on this is fucking second to none. So if we're building a marketplace and they're building a wallet and there's other marketplaces that are there, that's fucking awesome. Because, like, ultimately for us, like, we just want to make sure that we make a decent fucking product and we're not, like, shilling shit, you know? Like, we just know that the product works and that's it. Like, I don't have to, like, go out there and then try and buy followers and all that shit. Just fucking, it works. And if it works and you like it, go use it. It's very simple. The infra component being part of it is one of those big things that we'd had to solve itself. And that's the reason why it's made so much progress in such little time. Like, literally, we started in, like, the end of January, and now we're on a whitelist mainnet. And, like, there's a bunch of other shit that's also on our roadmap that I think Jake has had a chance to look at. Alex and Jordan are kind of familiar about all the cool shit that is up on our level too, and then also on what they're doing. And, like, we're fucking excited, man. Like, if you're not allocated to Doge at this point, you're the biggest retard probably in crypto at this point. You know, I can proudly say that. You know, this is financial advice. If you're not allocated to Doge, you are retarded. I'm putting it out there. And thank God this is a recorded space. You can send us out to Gensler too. That bald motherfucker.
Absolutely love the passion. Yeah, I've tested out the DogeFi platform, and it's awesome. It's something that's definitely needed, and will help, you know, really propel the space forward. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up here. Alex, I really appreciate you for coming on and having this conversation. As you could tell, incredible turnout, almost 700 people on the live stream, hundreds of people coming in through the spaces throughout the day. It's been really, really fun conversation. If everybody who is here enjoyed this space, please follow the Emblem account. If you don't know, Emblem Vault is main NFT protocol in the industry. We have over 100 million in TVL, over 200 million in traded assets. We support everything from, you know, Doge Party, Doginals, Bitcoin Ordinals, stamps, etc. All the UTXO chains is everything that we support. So please make sure that you give the account a follow so you can follow us along. We're launching a cross-chain marketplace later this month. Alex, I'd love to give you the final words of this conversation. Anything you'd like to note or say to the community before we do wrap this up?
Cool. Yeah, no, just thanks. Really happy to be a part of all this, and, you know, shout out everybody. Shout out all my Doge fam, you know, that came in to listen. You know, shout out to the people that are building, and, you know, shout out DogeFi. We love DogeFi. We're really excited for what they're building. And, you know, people that might not be in the Doginals camp, or they're skeptical about it or whatever, you know, thank you for, you know, listening and understanding that, you know, this is the way forward to keep building and, you know, stay relevant in the crypto space. And there's going to be a lot of cool things. I think even the naysayers are going to come around when they see some of the fun things that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Adam, any final words?
Yeah, I love that. Just trying to stay relevant, right? I think, you know, obviously Dogecoin has this legacy history. I mean, it may almost surpass Bitcoin. Like, everybody knows Dogecoin. It's here to stay, obviously. And I think, this additional building and infrastructure, we've seen it when it happens and you have this flexibility, it allows creative people
I
to do
can't hear
creative
you
things.
anymore.
Yeah. And so, you know, just
I'm being rugged. Hold on.
No worries, Alex. We're gonna wrap it up here.
But yeah, just excited for what's going to happen, and obviously Alex and what he's doing with the wallet is super important for the future of Dogecoin, no doubt.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone who's on stage who was on stage, from, you know, Jimmy, Chris, On-Chain Hustlers, Alex, Penny, you know, Dogs, DeFi, Leikas, everybody who's here. Big Chief, really appreciate it. Again, everyone, please follow the Emblem account. If you enjoyed the speakers, follow Alex and everybody. We host the show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, covering everything UTXOs, inscriptions, Dogecoin, etc. We'll be back on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, everybody, please enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there and look for some bullish news from MyDoge. We'll see you guys next week.